Unmute. Share screen. All right, can you hear me? Raise your hand. We're good? Okay, awesome.
Good to go.
Good to go.
Cool.
We'll be checking back in periodically. We might have to just pop over and let a few people in. Thank you for joining us. All right, cool. All right, guys, let's get started. Hey, thank you for giving up your evening to be with us tonight. We hope we can have some fun, get a little workout in, and provide some value for you guys. My name's Spencer. I'm one of the physical therapists here at IPA Physio in Irvine. This is Pete, and we're really passionate about this material. This is some material that's impacted our lives a lot. Pete travels all around the country, teaches a class called Core First, and he's been doing that for several years with the Institute of Physical Art. Myself, I have had actually 3 abdominal surgeries this year. Been in and out of the hospital. I had my large intestine removed, and so several muscles, several important core muscles, right, that were cut through, lots of scar tissue. So using these concepts, these strategies myself, just thinking about my posture, my alignment, my base of support has really impacted my recovery. I've been able to train myself, train my core to get reintegrated, to get stronger and progress myself back to health that way. And my recovery because of that has been a lot faster than was originally expected. And that's been a great thing. I've been able to come back to work, and this is a course that has meant a lot for my life. So I hope that you guys can be impacted in a similar way. All right, so let's dive in.
Check one thing on. You'll see that.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay. Here we go. All right, so a little overview of the evening. It's going to be about an hour. We're going to start by talking about the core. What is it? Why is it important? How do we use it efficiently, right? How do we access a core first strategy? So that's going to be a little bit of a lecture up front. Stick with us. We're going to get into an exercise session at the end, take you guys through some movements. We sent out a PowerPoint or PDF with all the exercises, and we'll have some new ones for you this evening as well. We didn't include all of them, but we can always send you the ones we didn't include on the back end. So I want to start out with a quote from Vicki Johnson, a mentor of both Pete and myself. She says that everything an efficient human body does in life is done with a core first strategy. And I just really love this picture. People hanging upside down. This is in New York City. They wouldn't be able to do this if they didn't have an effective core first strategy, or they'd probably fall and break their head and everything else in their body, right? So I thought this was awesome. We're not going to be doing this tonight, but we'll get there eventually. All right, so what is the core? The core is a group of muscles deep within the body that work synergistically to initiate movement, provide power, and prolong stability and protection of the human system. You can think about it kind of like a soda can. That's an easy analogy, right? Unopened soda can, very stable core. You can stand on the soda can. You can put a lot of weight on the soda can. It will not break. But opposite of that, right? Someone that's not using their core effectively. Soda can that's open, dented, a little bit crunched in, you can break that easily. So unopened soda can, effective core. Soda can that's opened, a little dent in it, it's going to be much easier to break that, more easier to injure yourself if you're not using your core. So muscles of the core, and obviously there's a lot of muscles around the abdominal region. But when we're talking about the true core, we're specifically talking about the diaphragm, the pelvic floor, the transversus abdominis. Vicky would say the myofascial unit of the transversus abdominis, and the multifidus. Okay, and so these muscles are very deep. They impact the skeletal system. They cross multiple joints, and they are more endurance muscles. So very large. They don't fatigue quickly, and there's 4 of them. So you can think of this as the top of the soda can being the diaphragm. The bottom of the soda can would be the pelvic floor. The front would be the transversus abdominis, and the back would be the multifidus. So other muscles that surround the core, maybe traditionally you think of the 6-pack muscles, the rectus abdominis, quadratus lumborum, erector spinae, internal, external obliques. These are also important muscles. They're just not more of the deep stabilizing muscles. We're talking about these deep, big muscles that really guide the human movement as a whole, right? So other muscles surrounding are also important, but when we're talking about a core first strategy, we want these big guys to fire first, and then muscles around can fire to support. Okay, so why is this group of muscles important? So we want to have a core first strategy, right? We want these big primary muscles to fire first. We don't want the smaller ones because those muscles are not going to be as stabilizing. So we want a deep stabilization. We want our spine to not move too far out of alignment during every movement, because that can lead to injury. If the spine, if the core is not as strong, that can lead to injuries of the extremities, right? The shoulder, the elbow, the neck, the knee. These segments of the body are more easily injured if the core is not involved. So a core first strategy increases strength and power of every movement. Like this lady doing overhead squat here, right? She has great alignment. She has a great base of support, which we'll get more into this evening. She wouldn't be able to do this without injuring herself if she didn't have these things. And so, yeah, increases strength and power, increases stability of all joints and body segments through irradiation. This is just a transfer of energy. You guys are actually going to experience this tonight. I'll let you know. We're going to get into more of how to find a neutral position and how to access a core first strategy. And so I'm going to point out how moving different parts, moving your knee, your hips, and moving your shoulders can tie into irradiating or transferring energy straight to the core. And so that's a strategy we use to access the core. And so core first strategy is also protective. It allows the body to respond quickly and appropriately to perturbations. Think if you step in a hole or someone bumps you, it's a crowded shopping mall, someone bumps you, or I know for me, I was wearing some dress shoes I don't wear too often, right? And I was walking down the stairs. Thankfully, this was at my house and not in front of a lot of people, but I ended up slipping. My feet went out from under me, maybe about 20 stairs. I went all the way down on my backside for a little bit, and then I did some weird twist, and my head was going down first. My feet, I did like a somersault. My feet went over me, put a few marks on the wall, not holes, just marks. So able to fix those, but got a little banged up, but actually I was fine. I didn't break anything, and a little sore, but it was all good because I was able to activate a core first strategy. It produced a protective response, and I didn't fall as awkwardly as I otherwise would have. So core first strategy, protective in nature, allows you to undergo a fall like that and not fall awkwardly, to brace before impact. So very important for that reason. Also increases ease and efficiency of intentional movement. So we all want to do things more efficiently. We want to conserve energy, right? We want to preserve the joints of our body over the lifespan, right? You want to be able to not break down as you age. And I personally don't believe that it is normal for joints of the body to start getting stiff or injured as we age. We should be able to maintain that, and having the core integrated, knowing how to use your core throughout your life and consistently. Like Pete and I, we think about this every day, whether we're getting in and out of bed or whether we're going down to pick something up, doing any exercise at the gym. You need to think about position and your alignment. How are you using your core with literally everything you're doing throughout your day? And that's the best way to keep your entire body healthy. One of the best ways to keep your entire body healthy from a physical standpoint as you age. So how can we use the core efficiently? Well, we've kind of talked about that, right? So core first strategy, number one. And how do we access a core first strategy? How do we get those four muscles and the surrounding myofascial tissues to fire appropriately and provide this deep stabilization effect that's going to protect our body and improve efficiency of movement, make us stronger? How do we do that? Well, it all starts with having good alignment, good posture, right? Not that we need to maintain one static posture all day, but we at least need to have a starting point. We need to train in this position. I'm a firm believer for athletes and just people that are active in general. You need to train the way that you expect your body to perform outside of your training, right? So if you're going to the gym and you're not training with good form, that's probably going to carry over to your life, to how you pick something up from the ground. If you're not deadlifting with appropriate core first strategy, then we can't expect to bend down and pick something up with a good core first strategy at home, right? And that's how people get injured. And so you hear people say like, oh, I just bent over and picked something up. Like it was just a piece of paper off my desk and my back spasmed. And now I can't get out of bed, right? So why does that just happen? Well, it doesn't just happen in that one time picking up the piece of paper. It's a lifetime of picking up paper the wrong way, picking up my shoes the wrong way, right? Getting out of bed the wrong way. And so that's why this material is so important. That's why we're so passionate about it, because literally you guys can take these concepts, use them every single day for the rest of your life, and prevent injuries and move better and just feel better, right? And that's what everyone wants, right? Raise your hand if you want that. Yeah. Okay. Everyone but the lady in the corner there. Okay. Okay. There you go. Okay. So what is a neutral posture, neutral alignment, right? It's a dynamic starting point from which all movement can flow. So from that position, right, I can then move in a variety of ways, keeping a stable base. And we're gonna get into all this. Just bear with me. This entails, someone's in the waiting room, and I will admit them now. Okay. This entails being well grounded through efficient base of support and alignment. So remember that base of support and alignment. Having those two things is going to help your core fire appropriately and allow you to access that core first strategy. Okay. So how to access a core first strategy. Last major slide, and then we'll get into some movement. Okay. So base of support, it's the foundation that accepts all of the body's weight and supports the structures above, right? You want a house to have a good foundation. You want your body to have a good foundation, a good base of support so that you can move well. If, let's say you have really poor balance, you have maybe your foot is not very flexible, say, and you don't balance well, you don't transfer your weight well. That can really affect how you move, how your core fires. So all things that we're looking at in the clinic, but just really trying to focus on that base of support, whether it's your feet, whether you're on your hands and knees and it's your knees and your hands that are gauging into the ground, right? It should always allow for easy weight transfer and mobility. It should be the initiator and the generator of the force. Anytime you're moving, you're first activating that ground reaction force, pushing through the ground, and then from there generating energy for your movement. And that's all transmitting through the core. That starts from base of support. So alignment, the arrangement of skeletal support structures above the base of support. How is your spine aligned, right? Am I extended? Am I flexed? Am I more neutral, right? So thinking about that. Efficient alignment allows for efficient vertical weight transference to the base of support. So if I'm not in a neutral alignment, right? If I am like the soda can analogy, if there's a little crack in the can, then when pressure is put down through the soda can, it will just crumble, right? It'll just break. But think of the intact soda can, unopened, right? Good core engagement, and you put pressure straight down through that system, well, it's going to be able to take a lot of weight before it crumbles. So good alignment versus being out of alignment. There's no buckling or strain manifested in the entire structure. So I hope you guys have a lot of space, maybe not a lot, but at least some space around you. We're going to get into how do we find this neutral posture. So I'm going to be walking Pete through this, and you guys can follow along and do it yourselves at home. So stop share. And then, yeah, okay. So we have this mat here. Pete's gonna be on the mat. I'm gonna be walking him through.
And if you guys have questions as we go, type it into the chat box. That'll probably be the best way. We'll try to keep an eye on that and answer them as we go. Otherwise, at the end, we'll have some time for that as well. All right.
Okay, so everybody on the mat, lying on your back. Hopefully you can still see the video. That's perfect how you have it, Shirley, just to the side. That's, if you could put the video to your side, then you can just look over and see what we're doing. So he is gonna start lying on his back with his knees bent, okay? And if you notice in this position that you guys can just listen to me talk for a little bit. I'm just gonna, so go into that position and just listen to me talk from there. If you notice in that position that your neck is uncomfortable, if it feels like it's too extended, so Pete will show this. So his neck is leaning back too far, it's too extended, then he will use a pillow to support that. You may need some work through your thoracic spine, and we're not able to help you out with that right now, but just use a pillow for now. So we call this position hook line, and this is the easiest way to start learning how to access good alignment, good base of support. So can you take your knees hip width apart, feet and knees hip width apart, hands can be at your side, both shoulders equally weight bearing on the ground. And then from this position, Pete is going to place his hands on his pelvis. So in a C shape around his pelvis. And he's going to roll his pelvis forward into what we call an anterior tilt. What this will do is arch his back off the ground. So you can see a little bit of space underneath his back, okay? And then from there, he's gonna rock back into what we call a posterior tilt. And so what that's gonna do is push his low back into the ground, okay? And so if he goes too far, he'll actually lift. If he goes too far into a posterior tilt with his pelvis, he's actually gonna lift his glutes off the ground. That's good. So move between those two extremes of motion, feeling that through your pelvis. So you want to feel the bony contours on either side of your lower torso moving, all right? With that, it will arch your back off, push your back down, okay? And just notice how your body moves. How does that feel? Notice which parts of your body are contacting the ground at any point in time. How far can you go in each direction? Do you have any pain? Are you able to feel this at all? Is it too stiff to even move? I'm sure we have all different situations in this class.
Can I say one?
Yeah.
Also notice as you move through that range, how smooth can you control that motion? Or is it kind of ratchety and shaky? If it's ratchety and shaky and hard to control, that's a good cue that you're likely not activating some of the deep core stabilizers that Spencer's talking about. So you might, in that case, start with more of a smaller amplitude or a slower degree of motion as you work on finding that neutral position.
Good points. And if you just joined us, a few people just jumped into the class. So we're figuring out how to access our core in this hook line position. You can grab a pillow if that is easier on your neck. So what we're doing is still moving between these two extremes, going in a slow controlled fashion, as Pete pointed out. And now from here, start to narrow that motion. Try to make it smaller in each direction. So not hitting the end of that range either direction. And let's just do that for about 20 more seconds, making it smaller and smaller, and then settle into a comfortable middle position between those two end ranges. So a place where you don't feel strain, you don't feel arching, but you don't feel your bottom lifting off the ground. The back will be fairly flat on the ground. Feel your weight through your feet. So you go a little bit wider with your feet actually. Yeah. So feet still hip width apart. So we're going to call this neutral position. Okay. So now you guys, from this position, you are well set up to access a core first strategy. The trick will be maintaining this position while we move. You with me? Everyone nod yes if you're with me. Raise your hand. Cool. All right. So now we're going to go through some movements, and I want you guys, so before we do this, place your hand under your low back and just feel the relationship of where your back is to the ground. Should be pretty flat, right? Now, if I had you move, if I had you pick up both feet right now, would you be able to keep your back flat on the ground? Right? That's just an example. That's a difficult movement to start with. We're going to start a little bit easier, but my point is just trying to keep that back flat on the ground. Tendency is actually to arch away as we move through some of these things. So just keep that in mind. No arching through that low back. If some of these things are too intense for you, then we're going to start easy and just stick with the easier ones. You don't have to move through everything that we're doing, but just go at your own pace and drink water if you need it. Take a rest at any time. And for those of you that really want to push, we're going to have some higher level stuff, right? So, all right. So Pete is going to start in that neutral position. Everybody, quick 30-second reassessment. Find that position. Good. Where's your back at? Feel underneath. Okay. So now maintaining that, Pete is just going to lift up one foot and down. Good. Now the other foot and down. Keeping that back nice and flat on the ground, not arching at all. Good. And now he's going to alternate back and forth. Good. Nice. And now, Pete, can you toe tap? Can you just, yeah.
You want me
And
to
back up?
90-90?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's bring both feet all the way up now. 90-90 position. And then he's going to just toe tap down and toe tap down. Good. Notice what your back is doing. Is it arching? Okay. So next, he's going to heel tap a little bit harder. He's got to go a little further and alternating, bringing that leg all the way back up to 90 before he moves the opposite leg. Okay. Now, can you guys move at the same time? So now before he gets all the way back up, he's going to start moving the other side. There you go. And go very slow and controlled here. It's not a ballistic movement. A lot of people move too quickly through core exercises, but we're going for more of a stability effect here. So tapping through the heel. Now, if you want a little bit more, he can straighten his knees more. So he can extend just a little bit. Yep. And same thing from there. Right. Okay.
Can I go one thing?
Yeah.
So as you're doing this exercise, what I'd encourage you to do is on each leg, pause before one heel gets to the ground and reassess that position of your back on the mat. Are you still equally weighted from the right hip to the left hip and the right shoulder to the left shoulder so that your back is flat on the ground? If you find you're getting pulled or arching towards the leg that's moving, you're not activating your core strong enough for this particular activity because the weight of the leg is drawing you towards the movement. Okay? So it's good to pause at that transitional point to see, do I have stability and do I have control here, so that you're not just sloshing back and forth and losing that neutral position of your spine that Spencer got us into.
And that's a good point. So whichever movement we're moving through at any point in time, we should be able to stop and reassess where we at, what is our spine doing? Are we arching? Are we rounding? Being aware of that pelvic position is very important. So good point. All right, so now he's going to come back to that 90-90 position, and then he's going to fully straighten one leg out. And this is going to be the most difficult thing we've done so far. So don't push yourself too hard if you find that you're arching. He's going to come back and straighten the other leg and alternating back and forth. So what he's doing right now is he's coming all the way back to that 90-90 position before he moves the opposite leg, but he can move them at the same time to make it a little bit more challenging. So actually alternate still, but move them at the same time. There you go. And nice and slow. Okay, good. So if you have trouble with that, if you find your back arching, then you know that this is the level that you need to practice at. You need to strengthen in this range before you push yourself to a more challenging exercise. So now Pete so go to that end again. So notice how his foot is pretty well off the ground. If he wants to make it more difficult, he can lower it down, right? And same thing, move through that range. So first he starts by coming back to 90 and then moving, right? If he wants to make it even more difficult, he can lower further, but I won't make him do that. So go back to 90, yep. And then you can move at the same time, right? Perfect.
Can you talk a little bit about how to be bracing here through? Some of you may be wondering, okay, what kind of contraction am I activating here? We're talking about keeping your back flat and again, equally weighted from hips to shoulders. And so as we're doing these activities, some of you may have been taught to draw your belly button to your spine, or you may just be cognitively thinking, stay flat. The way that we want you to think about, okay, what should your core activation feel like, would be the same kind of contraction as if you just pushed into your knees. And if everyone just takes their hands on the front of their thighs and pushes into their knees without letting their legs move, you'll feel how your core fires automatically. We call that a automatic core engagement. And the goal is to maintain that type of contraction to help you better stabilize your trunk as you do these exercises.
So can you guys go back to that 90-90 position for a second? Everybody back to 90-90. If you need to take a little break, go to hook line, but try to come to 90-90. And so Pete, 90-90. And then notice that his knees are on the proximal side of his hip. So his knees are closer to his nose. He's a little bit flexed, right? So as opposed to down this way, right? Or even straight, you like to bias more towards a little bit of that flexion. From there, his toes are flexed upward. So point your toes for a second. That would be what you don't want. If you dorsiflex, so he pulls his toes up, that's going to feed more into the core, get that more of that irradiation effect. Activating certain muscles will feed more energy into the core. So we want that. And so from there, he's going to place his hands just below his knees, giving a little bit of a traction effect. So if I was tractioning my own knee, it would look something like this. I'm pushing slightly down and slightly upward and slightly out. So it's not straight out, it's not straight up. It's that traction effect. The fingers should be off and you're just pushing up and out. Like if you were going to push something up and over a bowl, right? And so that is going to feed more into the core if you than if you push straight at the knees. Okay. And so he's also flexing his neck a little bit. It might come off the pillow. He's trying to tuck his chin. Okay. And so that is going to combine with the traction, with the dorsiflexion through the ankles and feed straight to the core. This is what we're talking about when we say a radiation, right? You're not directly doing a sit-up, right? You wouldn't think you're moving much through your core, but you're getting a ton of energy sent there through a radiation. You're resisting an isometric contraction, which means there's no movement through your hips, through your shoulders. You're pushing your hands into your knees and sending energy straight to the core. So that's what we want you guys to feel as we move through these exercises. That if you lose that sense, then go back to 90-90. And we call this exercise push. This is in your guys' notes. All right. So go ahead and show them the most advanced version of this, which would be 90-90, and then straightening both knees at the same time. And you guys don't even have to straighten all the way. Notice how he's still pretty far off the ground with his feet. He could even move through partial range, right? So not.
Because if I go further and I arch my back, I've lost my alignment and I start to fire my back extensors and compress my spine. So if I stay in a range for me that's appropriate with 2 legs, I'm here. If I go further, see how my back starts to arch? That's not good. But you see people doing this all the time at the gym on their own, right? It just adds compression to the spine as opposed to really firing the co-contraction of your core with your hip.
We don't recommend that you call those people out, although you would be justified in doing so. All right. So I want to take you guys from here into a different position, and we're going to go through this again, how to find that neutral alignment and move from there. Okay. So everybody get a drink of water, shake it out a little bit, come to hands and knees position. We call this quadruped. Give you guys a second to get there. And those of you that don't have your video shared, that's fine. If you'd like to share, it may be easier for us to see what you're doing and give you some feedback on this, but no pressure. I'm one of those that also doesn't like to share my screen. Okay, so from here, Pete is moving through what we call cat-cow, right? So what I want you guys, if you guys do yoga, you're familiar with this. But as you're moving through this, right, see he's dropping his belly button as he looks up. He's looking down as he rounds. Notice what your pelvis is doing. Same as we were moving in hook line, that pelvis is going to be posteriorly tilting and anteriorly tilting as he is moving his spine, right? So same thing. Notice those two extreme ranges of motion. Go to that end point. How far can you go? Don't move into any pain, right? You shouldn't be straining too hard, but just allowing your body to move to its max capacity. And now Pete is going to start narrowing that movement down, moving through a smaller range. And notice how he's moving very slow and controlled. That is perfect. You guys should be doing that as well. And he's going to settle into a comfortable middle position that we will call neutral alignment. Now, if we were with you in person, we could confirm that all you guys are in fact neutral, but you all look pretty good on video. So that's great. So in this position, you should feel pretty comfortable. You shouldn't feel a lot of strain through any part of your body. You may feel some effort in your shoulders if you're not used to weight bearing through the arms, but if it becomes too much, then just take a break and listen and jump back in when you're ready. Okay. So from here, Pete should be able to weight shift any direction. He can go forward. He can go back, right? He can come back to the middle. He can go side to side, right? You guys can try this. What you want to, and see how he's moving very intentionally, very slowly. I see some of you guys moving back into a bit of a child's pose. So Pete, show them child's pose for a second. You don't want to be moving that much, right? So you want to be mostly maintaining your shoulders right over your hands, your hips right on top of your knees. Should be no arching or rounding through your spine, and there shouldn't be a lot of side bending. So Pete, if you actually face this way and show them side bending and rotation, this is what not to do, right? He's doing a little bit too much bending. You don't want to be rotating at all, right? So that's perfect. So you guys are doing great. So go back again. And so now from here, try to lift one of your feet. Lift a knee off. Can you lift that knee off, right? And back down. Try the other knee. And back down. And a point I want to make here is prior to moving, how well can you engage the non-moving limbs? How well are you engaging that base of support, feeling energy pushing down? So if you're moving your right hand, right, you need to engage that left hand really well into the ground. Those knees need to be really stable prior to moving, to make sure that you're moving from a stable base, right? So now try lifting a hand, right? And he can extend it out. He can do a lot of movements with the arm here, right? He can reach out to the side. He can lift an arm and a knee at the same time, right? You can extend all the way about. You can just hold there. You can just lift up and hold. And so something else that we can do here, we call hover position. So look how he's going to put his toes onto the ground. Yep. So he's active through his feet. Some of you guys might have the top of your foot on the mat. So switch to like that. But do it how Pete's doing with his feet, his toes onto the ground. And he's going to first make sure that he's stacked. So reassess your alignment here. What's your spine position? Do that cat-cow a little bit, narrow the range, right? Are your shoulders stacked over your hands, hips over the knees? Perfect. Is the neck too extended? Is it too flexed? So Pete, show them neck position for a second. Yep. You don't want to be too rounded through the neck. You don't want to be too extended. Look how he's in a comfortable middle position with his neck, right? And now engage that base of support. Push through the hands, push through the toes. He's going to lift his knees simultaneously and just hold. So hover position. How long can you hold this and maintain good alignment? Equal weight bearing through all points of the base of support. And now you guys can just stay here and hold this for a little bit, or you can be like Pete and do some weight shifting. You can shift forward, you can shift back, side to side, you can move in diagonals. Holding this position, he can lift one hand. Yeah, nice. And the other hand, he could lift a foot. Nice. He could straighten a leg and lift the whole leg. You guys want to see Pete work? He could lift the other leg. He could even straighten an arm and a leg. And that's even Pete's ceiling. Everybody has a ceiling, guys. Don't be ashamed. But he's doing it. He's pushing through. Don't push yourself if you have pain. Don't push yourself. He's well trained in this, right? He knows how to assess his alignment in different positions. When it becomes more challenging, he's always assessing, is my alignment changing? Is my base of support changing? The more you guys practice this, the more you're aware of what position is my torso in, am I rotating? Am I side bending, right? You guys are going to get better at this as well. So Pete can challenge himself in these ways because he has trained himself to be aware of his alignment in these challenging positions. Okay. I see a lot of you guys doing cat-cow again. That's perfect. Reassessing, right? always reassessing where you're at, being aware whether, and you guys are going to find yourself thinking about this more throughout the day now. We're only doing a few positions, right? But sitting, huge. Think about that. Anytime you're standing as well, are you arching? Are you rounding? Right? So we're going to move into some bird dogs from here. So everybody back with hands and knees on the ground, right? Quickly find that neutral position, take a break, get some water if you need it. That Pete is finding his neutral, and he's going to lift one arm and one leg, opposite arm, opposite leg, and just hold. Nothing wrong with just static holds. Don't always have to move, right? And so try to hold this as I'm talking, and just try to maintain that alignment. I would encourage you guys to, so let your chin relax down a little bit. Yep, perfect. I would encourage you guys to hold this as long as you comfortably can without compromising your form, right? And if you just feel that you need to take a break, then take a break. But challenge yourself to feel like you can push yourself as long as possible, right? We're working endurance muscles, endurance fibers. So,
And to build up what Spencer said, and I'm going back and forth between hands and fists, just taking some pressure off here. But before I lift my right arm and my left leg, I'm really engaging my left arm and my right leg, so that by the time I lift my opposite extremities, I've already accepted that weight in the diagonal that is stabilizing. And then I can be there without having to shift and move my body, okay? So as you unload, there should be minimal movement. There should be no loss of your alignment, because you've engaged your base so effectively that the opposite limbs just float up.
excellent. So if you want to make it a little bit more challenging, you can walk that support knee back a little bit, right? Yeah. And then move from there. So he's just, yep, perfect. Just challenging himself a little bit more and back. And he can, so go back to that position and then bring your elbow in towards your knee and try to touch. Good. Can you touch?
Yeah, but I want to round my back.
Yeah,
So
that's fine.
go where I can.
Good. Yep. So don't move. Yeah, and notice as he's doing it, I want you guys to look at his torso, right? If you were doing it wrong, he'd be extending and flexing. You don't want that. We want more stability here. So trying to move as little as possible, right? Good, and switch sides. Try that. So if you can't touch some, maybe you have the range of motion to touch, but if you don't compromise your torso position just to touch. All right. You can always have the option to just hold that end range position as well. Okay. And now he can go back to hands and knees. You good?
Yep.
And he can walk his feet back out to a full plank position. And this might be where some of you guys start compensating through your spine with some arching. So Pete, show them. Yeah, you don't want to be too rounded like that. You also do not want to be too extended. This is not upward facing dog or downward facing dog.
Pete's going to take a child's pose.
And that's always a good thing to do when you get tired, is just go down into child's pose and take a few breaths, right? Get some water. And so notice that when he was doing that, though, yep, he's ready. So go back up. Notice that he wasn't too arched or too rounded. And Pete, show them how to reassess in this position. So he's moving through that, a little bit of a cat-cow, but more so through the pelvis, right? So the goal with this would just be to move through the pelvis, doing the arching and rounding. And he can assess, and he's trained himself to do this in different positions where he can assess where his alignment is, right? So whether he's in quadruped, whether he's in hook line, whether he's standing, whether he's sitting, he knows whether he is aligned or not. So you guys can practice that. And that's just a coordination thing. Okay. So from this position, he can then pick up one of his feet and hold. He can move that foot to the right and back in, right? He could bend his knee in, yep, and back out. He could do a little bit of hip extension. Yep, nice. You can do all of that on the opposite side as well, alternating back and forth. Just gonna give you guys some time to work through that. If you can't, if this is hard, then go back to hands and knees position, move from there, do some hover holds. Okay. Yeah. So show them real fast that position again. And then from there, lift the arm. Yep. So he's going to engage his base of support that's staying grounded, and he's going to weight shift a little bit, lift one of his arms, and he's making a real effort not to rotate. It's hard for you guys to see, but there's no rotation through his spine. He's staying fairly flat, as if there were like a cup of water on his back you wouldn't want to spill, right?
And the only way I can do that is if I'm lifting my right arm, I pre-engage my left hand and my right foot. And if I'm lifting my left arm, pre-engage my right hand and left foot so that I'm already stabilized through those bases before I lift.
And this is challenging stuff. We're pretty high level at this point, so don't feel bad if you're shaking. But this is an area that has a lot of potential to improve if you train it. All right. So we're going to get into some crawling now. So he's going to be hands and knees position. And crawling is the first way that we develop locomotion, right? Well, I mean, you start with rolling and then you progress to crawling as a baby. And so crawling is something that is very good for the brain, very deeply ingrained in our genetics. Crawling then translates to, and I see some of you guys doing it already. Crawling is great for the brain, right? It translates directly into higher levels of weight bearing, walking, running. So we often train patients in crawling and give them exercises here and resist them just to take the system just back to the roots, so to speak. You can see Pete doing that, and you can be following along as I talk, but he's moving opposite arm and opposite leg at the same time. And there's a lot of different ways that you can crawl, and he's taking short steps, right? You can take bigger steps. He can sidestep, okay? And then back the other way. And what he's doing is he's hovering his knees off the ground. You guys could be crawling with your knees on the ground and still get a great benefit. You don't have to be pushing yourself to get your knees off the ground, although it's not a bad thing. All the while assessing, how's my alignment, right? Am I arching? Am I rounding? Is my neck too flexed? Is it too extended? Knees should still be pretty much under the hips with this. And now he's going to more advanced crawling, so larger steps, and just really stretching back and forward. Nice. So challenge you guys challenge yourselves with the bigger crawling motion.
And if you don't have a lot of space, you can just crawl in place, back and forth. All the stability is through my left arm and right leg right now. And if I get into this position, it's all about right arm, left leg as I shift forward and back.
Yeah. All you guys are doing great. Everybody's burned more calories than me so far.
I can't wait to do one of these where Spencer's my subject.
Maybe next time.
We'll come up with a good one.
So
1,000 pull-ups.
how's everybody doing? Give me a thumbs up, thumb sideways, hopefully no thumbs down. A lot of thumbs up, that's good. You guys feel like you have a lot that you can take away from this so far? We're gonna do just a couple more things and we'll get into a little Q&A. You guys can just watch or you can try to follow along, but I just want to show this. So go to the mat real fast.
Yeah.
And so he's going to be in that hook line position. And this is a little bit more advanced. So if you guys want a little bonus workout, you can try this. He's going to be in that 90-90 position with dorsiflexion. Okay. And then from there, he's going to, he already found his neutral alignment, but you guys might need to find that again. And then he's going to keep a stable upper trunk as he moves his lower body. So, round your pelvis up into a crunch. So he's picking his tailbone and his hips off the ground as he's not rounding at all through his upper body, just keeping a stable upper, moving lower, right? And then he can go down and back up, kind of a reverse crunch, right?
Can I have you stand behind me
Yeah.
for a minute?
Yeah.
Really helpful if you have something that you can hold on to, like this, then you can get a little bit more leverage, but you want to be slow and controlled as you move up and down so that it's as segmental as possible. You're not just hoisting like this with momentum. Okay, otherwise you can push your hands down. Just don't let your shoulders push way forward and just move through the range that you have available. The stronger you get, the less of the external support you'll need. It still benefits me a lot.
And that's a good takeaway for everything that we've talked about tonight, is just slow and controlled. Maintaining alignment is more important than moving quickly and blowing through that. All right. So now he's going to put his feet down on the ground back into that hook line position, and he can segmentally curl through his upper body, starting with the neck, moving one segment of the spine at a time up as far as he can. So a lot of people do this very quickly and even just blow through these holds, but he's working to stabilize each segment of his trunk one at a time, going up. He's using neck support here. You guys can as well. And get to that end range and hold that. So go as far as you can and hold that. And it's really difficult to curl all the way up. Some people can do it, but don't go quickly. Don't blow through that. There may be a stopping point, and just hold there, right? So this is moving upper trunk on stable lower. And both of these are options for you guys. A little bit higher level, but just move very slow. It's okay if you can't even get your shoulder blades off the mat. Just go straight to that point and just hold. Maybe you need to support your neck. That's fine. Use a pillow even. You guys all look great. Okay. And then let's just show basket seal quickly. So basking seal in sideline, he's supporting his neck and keeping the knees on the ground, bringing his feet up, elbow going towards the heels, feet are flexed, toes are flexed upward, dorsiflexed. It's going to be shortening the upper side, the top side of his body, and then lengthening. And moving very slow and controlled through that.
So this one's all about controlled side bending, whereas the others were controlled rounding. But what I'm not wanting to do is like rotate backwards or really like arch my back. If you see me from behind, hopefully it's like you just be able to tell that I'm creating a little bit of a U shape without rounding or rotating, just straight up, side crunch, and then elongating down.
So move through that a few times. You guys can do this on a couch or a bed. Some of you guys may have gotten this exercise from us if you've been in for treatment here. You can drop the feet off the couch or the bed, creating more length through the side of your body. And then you can even as you shorten, you can hold that end position. Just static holds are good. This can be a stretch. So this is a really valuable movement as well. All right. So we wanted to open it up at the end here for a little bit of Q&A. If you guys have questions, we can send out any of the exercises that aren't included in your guys' handout. If you guys email us, and we'll send those out to you. Let's see, question, how can we open it up?
All right. I'm gonna, let me see where I had you guys on all mute. See if I can get back to you guys.
Cancel.
I think
All
we
right.
could just unmute ourselves, right?
We've got you where you can unmute yourselves now. So does anyone have any questions? That was fun. That was my first full workout in a mask. How's everybody feeling out there? What questions might you have?
Good.
Susan wiping some sweat off. Me too. Got a little glow going, right? Well, if there's not any questions, I'm glad that you all were able to join us. I'll let you kind of conclude.
Yeah, we're posting a lot of exercise videos and engaging on social media. Follow us at IPA Physio on Instagram and Facebook. You guys should see in your last slide of the handout our emails and contact number, our location. We're in Irvine near the Spectrum. Come visit, and always open to talking more, getting to know you guys. We have upcoming classes. You have the dates?
Yeah, November 4th, we'll be giving a talk on self-management and conservative management of headaches. And then I believe it's November 21st, we'll be doing a hip mobility class. On our YouTube page, IPA Physio, we have a core workout up there that's about 20 minutes long, a lot of what we did. So if you found everything that we did effective and want to carry through and progress, you can look at that. And there's also a hip on there that a lot of that November 21st class will be looking at how to maximize hip mobility along with
So with that, have a great evening, guys. Sleep well, drink a lot of water, and we'll hope to see you guys again at a future class.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ciao. That was great.
Yeah, very good.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate you joining us.
Appreciate you
Thanks
sharing.
a lot. Take care,
Take care.
everyone.
Bye.